You said that you got married. Did you marry after you returned from the war?
Yeah, no, I wasn't in the war. I just
The military.
Yeah, military.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got married. Yeah, when I got out of the service, to Margie Reed.
And Margie Reed was a daughter to.
Well, actually, she was a daughter to Sim Reed, but her uncle Bob Reed and Mary Reed raised her.
And that was back to Armour, right?
Yeah. Their grandmother, Mrs. Armour. Yeah.
That had that raised
Reed Armour, yeah.
That raised all the goats, so they
had the Angora goats, yeah.
Right. So there was really a lot of history at that time, and Hillsboro was recognized for her efforts in raising Grand Champion Angora goats. Is that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time, and this, I don't know, like I've already said once, World War II changed a lot of things, and
what would be the Reed Ranch now? What's at the Reed Ranch?
It's Jimmy Basin owns it.
Mrs. Armour was quite a lady.
Yeah, she was, from what I gather,
She was.
Yeah, she was quite a lady.
And how did they move their different Angora, I guess they called it Angora goat hair or mohair?
Mohair, yeah.
Yeah. And did they ship it out of here, or did they have a facility up there to actually make blankets with it, or?
No, they shipped it out. They put it in big sacks and shipped it to New York. I think a lot of they used it for wigs.
Oh,
It was such, it was really such fine mohair. They used it. There was that place in New York. They bought a lot. Of course, there wasn't a whole herd. But that was one of their sources that Bob Reed was really proud of. That they used it for wigs.
And so they must have taken it to Lake Valley then to put it on the train.
Probably so. Yeah, probably so. Yeah. And that train, that train that went into Lake Valley. I've helped people load cattle on it. They know that spur was still there. Nut. And I don't know when it was. I don't know when it stopped the Lake Valley. I think in the 30s. I think my dad said he rode on into Lake Valley on the train. And I don't know when that. But the little spur that went right across there at Nut, they were still loading cattle there until till about the 1960s, and then they used to Lock Speech or they're mining Lake Valley for manganese. You see that the old Lake Valley silver mine, they mined it for manganese. Maybe during the war, right after the war for a long time up until the 50s, and at Kingston they mined a lot of those old silver mines for manganese too. But they loaded ore out there at Nut.
Mm-hmm. And the manganese was used for,
hardening steel. And I'm saying something I don't know. I'm kind of saying more than I know. I imagine those mines opened up for manganese during World War II to have manganese for the war effort, Because I know they're really going strong after the war for a long time, And the government for years stockpiled manganese, and because of that reason, and then when they stopped that program, I think in 50, long in 50, well then that's when a lot of people made money mining manganese. Right here, Doug Henry made a lot of money right here in the city limits of Tennessee,
Yeah. Now, where was that?
It's right up this direction here, I think.
Right. It would be going. It's the dirt road that veers off behind the Bigaburger. And
Yeah, I think so. I don't know for sure, but it is right there in town, I think.
Well, and we had also heard that there were different kinds of mines down close to where, on Main Street. Did you ever hear about any mining that happened in that area close to where the Geronimo Museum is?
No, I don't know. I know over there by where that Cerro Grande Lodge is at it. There was somebody wanted me to use some dirt roads right beside there one time. And I was over there looking around and I saw a little ledge and I chipped off. Beautiful ledge. Man, it's beautiful. I said, man, there could be a lead mine right here.
Well, and I thought at one time that I had read that, or that they had found some mines, but they were never developed in the area.
Well, it could be because I like my eyes got out so Bobby.
Well, there was some kind of a mine or refinery over on, it's just right a block off of Riverside Drive. It's part of it's still left up there, but I don't know what they brought in there to process, or if that was a mine. But there's a lot of cement walls there.
Yep. There's remnants of walls there, like there's remnants of walls and foundations over here on the dirt road that goes up to meet Popular Street, the back way there.
Okay, I think that's where the manganese mine is.
Okay, well and you know,
that's where I have it in my mind.
Yeah. And you can certainly see where at one time that was all the coral that's still there. You can see the actual, what it would have looked like with the underground.
Yeah, in my mind, that's more before it was actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's where we were talking about. Let's see. Do you remember the atomic bomb, the explosion? Were you around when that happened?
Oh yeah, I was here when it happened.
Did you remember seeing anything about that?
The only thing I know is I don't know when people were talking about it. I don't think anybody actually talked about it until they dropped the atomic bomb, you know, during the war. Then they started talking about, you know, Trinity site. You know, we lived in Monticello. weren't that far away. We should have seen something. You know.
Well, that's true. What were some of the early families that you remember living in Monticello, and did you ever get into any trouble with your partners or the people you hung out with, the kids you hung out with? Were you just a...
Not at all.
Not at all.
What about in Hillsboro?
Huh?
What about when you lived in Hillsboro?
No.
Because there were a bunch of kids up there, and I don't know what you did all day long. You had Robert and Emery and Emmett and
Emery and Robert
and Nadine Gardner, Daves.
And that was when I was little. That Robert was my friend. Was the first year I remember in life, Robert Faulkner. And then, of course, later on in high, you know. Well, I did move in a big area, but I moved around so much when
When you were in Hillsboro and you had Robert as a friend, you didn't have television to watch or games to play. What did you do all day long?
You know, it was always, well, one thing, myself personally, my dad had me right by form side. I was his shadow, you know. He just had me with him all the time.
You didn't ever steal burros or anything like that?
No, I had up in Kingston. I had a little Indian pony, meaner than sin. You know. Kicked me, bit me, threw me off.
And how old were you when all that was happening?
9.
9?
9 years old.
You mean you didn't go down to the other part of Hillsboro and pick up or round up somebody else's little burros and ride them?
No, the only thing I remember if we did anything was we'd walk out to Warm Springs and go swimming, you know. And I don't know where I never was bored about anything up at Kingston. What I did, I I guess a loner quite a bit, but I'd go out looking in the mines. I'd go in old mines and by myself. I'd get my camel and I'd go in there looking, and I'd go out and have picnics. I'd get my lunch and get on my horse and I'd build a fire and have a picnic. I was 9 and 10 years old then, and then going these old mines, which my parents did. Dad and Georgia, they didn't realize what I was doing. And have a good time doing that, and go swimming down there in tanks, you know, wasn't supposed to go swimming in.
And where was Warm Springs where you went swimming in? Where was that?
He was northeast of Hillsboro, about 4 or 5 miles.
Was it actually the water was warm there?
Oh yeah, it's still there. That spring's still there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good, and it was warm, really warm. Yeah, that cement tank is still there. You know, now they got the gate locked. You know, and a lot of people used to go up there and have parties the whole time, and finally Vernon shut the gate on them. You know, because a lot of people like to go there and camp out. You know, they just liked it, you know. But we go up there, walk from Hillsboro, people swimming and walk back. And,
When you were in the mines, when you were walking in there and your parents didn't know that you were in there exploring, did you ever encounter any rattlesnakes laying in those cool mine shafts?
No.
Never did?
Never did, huh? No.